The Foo Fighters channeling the B-52s, and there's Fred from the band making a guest appearance. That version of Planet Claire is only available on the Japanese edition of the Times Like These CD single. And the only reason this disc exists in the first place is because imported CDs are cheaper in Japan than domestically produced CDs. It's a way to get Foo's fans in Tokyo to buy the more expensive disc. All this is changing, of course, with digital downloads and streaming, but at least we know why things have been this way for years with Japanese imports. Coming up, some weird stories from the road.
More of The Secret History of Rock coming up. Back to The Secret History of Rock with Alan Cross.
I've only traveled by tour bus once, but it was enough to make me understand how crazy it can get when you're on the road. You're in this bubble, moving from place to place. You quickly forget what day it is, or what meal you're supposed to be having, or when you're supposed to be sleeping, or when you're supposed to be awake, or when you had your last shower. No wonder, then, that things in this bubble often take on a sense of unreality. And no wonder there's so much drinking and drug taking. Strange things happen when you're on the road that probably wouldn't happen anywhere else. The first story I have from the road involves the time when Iggy Pop was attacked by a gorilla on stage in the middle of a Stooges performance. And that's even weirder than it sounds. It was October of 1973. Iggy and the Stooges were playing a small club in Atlanta called Richards. And as usual, Iggy was pretty zonked out on a variety of chemicals. The Stooges were, as usual, on the verge of flying apart, so several well-placed fans in the industry coaxed no less than Elton John to come to one of the shows to offer his hearty endorsement. A morale booster, you know? Elton was on a massive cross-country stadium tour at the time, and if you knew anything about his history, this was also the time when he was very deeply into wearing strange costumes on stage. For the Stooges show, Elton just happened to have a gorilla suit. The plan was to surprise the Stooges by running on stage in the gorilla suit in mid-performance. Problem was that nobody told Iggy, and he was in, an altered state. Earlier that morning, a girlfriend had returned him to the band unconscious because he had indulged in a lot of Quaaludes the night before. He was still so out of it that a couple of guys from the band had to carry him into the club that night, and they shot him full of speen, methamphetamine sulfate, so he could just do the show. Iggy made it on stage, barely, but when Elton bounced on stage dressed as a gorilla, Iggy thought it was a real gorilla, or maybe some methed-up hairy biker who felt that Iggy needed to be taught a lesson. He was absolutely terrified. He didn't know what to do, fight or run. Had Elton not taken off the gorilla mask just in time, Iggy might have had the mother of all freakouts that night.